Are you a small business owner looking to have a new website created? If so, you need to understand web hosting. What is it and why do you need it? And that's why I decided to create this video. I've seen other videos here on YouTube and a lot of them use industry jargons, and there are some good ones, but the ones that use industry jargons is kind of like whenever you look up a word in the dictionary and then you have to look up a word that's in the description of the word that you were looking for, and it's like, what the hell? No, I just want to know what it is, and that's it. So I put together a document here to explain to you guys what web hosting is, and the reason why you need it, and then the different types of web hosting as well. So web hosting is a service that provides storage space and internet connectivity to host websites and make them accessible on the internet. It involves storing the website's files. I'm not going to go into these terms, but files, in other words, your images, your text, and so on a server, which essentially is a powerful computer connected to the internet. In other words, any computer can be a server. And there are companies that charge to store your website. And that's basically what this is trying to tell you. So, and the way it works is when someone types in your URL, so kind of like in my case, when someone types in uniquewebdesigner.com, that browser goes to the server and says, hey, I need that website. And then the server is saying, hey, here are all the files here. And then it loads the website. That's what hosting is, and that's how it works. It's not complicated. I mean, yes, if you want to figure out all the little things, it's complicated, but it's very simple. It's just where the files for your website is stored. That's all hosting is. And so let's get into the different types of hosting. So you have shared hosting. Shared hosting is basically a type of hosting where a lot of different websites are being stored in the same computer, in the same server. So it could be, depending on the company, it could be 100 websites, it could be 200 websites, 300 websites. So whenever you're using shared hosting, you have less resources available for your website. But when it comes to service-based businesses, like small business owners, that's all you need. Shared hosting is enough because you're not gonna have a bunch of like fancy graphics at the beginning. You're not gonna have a ton of traffic, like over 10,000 people visiting your website. So shared hosting is completely fine. Then you have virtual private server. This is like having a piece of the computer to yourself. In other words, it's kind of like if the computer has 16 parts to it, like let's say 16 gigs around, and there were four websites hosted on that specific server, then each website would have 4 gigs of RAM available to it. And then it does the same thing with the space, the hard drive space, and everything. So the CPU, which is the processor. In other words, you have a specific amount of resources that's delegated to you. So shared hosting is everything is shared. There's a ton of websites. With virtual, there's lesser number of websites, and you have a specific amount of resources that are yours that no one else can use. With shared, it's everything is shared. So everybody's using all the resources. If 100 different websites have a lot of traffic, then they're gonna be using more resources than the other websites. So keep in mind, shared, everything is shared. Everybody uses everything. Virtual, you have a specific piece of that computer or that server that's yours. Then you have dedicated server hosting. Dedicated means the computer, the server is yours. And the only people that need a server to themselves are people that have humongous stores, like that their e-commerce website, or if you're going to have a huge database. So in other words, most small business owners, 98% of them, do not need to be on a dedicated server. So I'm not even gonna go too into detail with that one because you just don't need it. That's more like for corporate America, or like I said, somebody that has a store that has 100,000 products, something like that. In other words, they need a lot of resources, And so in that case, yes, it would be useful to have a dedicated server. And then you have cloud hosting. Cloud hosting is like a network of virtual servers. You know, when people think cloud, they're like, oh, it doesn't exist or whatnot. Yes, cloud exists. When people mention the cloud, it's just a computer, a server somewhere that's storing the information. But instead of being stored in just one place, it could be stored in many different places. And that's what the cloud is. Basically, you can store one website in, let's say, 50 different servers around the United States. And that's what cloud hosting is. Once again, small business owners, they don't need cloud hosting. It costs a little more, so I would just stay away from that. I would stay away from dedicated hosting, because obviously the cost involved with that. I always recommend shared or virtual, but for the most part, starting out shared, and then as you see a lot of growth in your company and you're getting a lot of traffic to your website, then you can upgrade to virtual private hosting. And that's it. That is web hosting in a nutshell. Hopefully this has been useful to you guys, and if it was, definitely like the video, share the video, and become a subscriber. The channel is very young, so every little subscriber helps. It tells the Google algorithm that you guys are liking the information that I'm providing. So I would definitely appreciate it if you guys did that for me. And with pleasure, love you guys. And Unique is out.